Hey guys, Dreams here again. This will be what if Ichigo trained the Dangai early. Now, where was I? Oh yeah. So, in this story, the events leading up to Ruki being taken back to the Soul Society for execution by Renji and Byakuya, there's not really anything different aside the fact that Ichigo's training would be done in the Dangai. Simple reason is, Urahara doesn't believe he can bring Ichigo up to the level of a captain in a short amount of time. Now, he does know Ichigo has a lot of potential, but I think the reason Ichigo became a captain level opponent so easily is that, well, one, he trained for 12 days to contain the inner hollow and all that kind of stuff. I kind of forgot what Urahara training mainly did. But then, kind of train or follow his way through the Soul Society, awakening a bit more hollow power, then train with Yoruichi for a bit, bringing forward hollow power even more, which allowed him to press through most of the Soul Society. If Kenpachi really wanted Ichigo dead, he would have had him dead. We know this. Especially more corroborated by the most recent episode of Bleach, that's from Blood War. So, yeah. Now, in this one, Urahara would know that Ichigo's potential is vast and doesn't really have the confidence to bring him up to captain level in a short amount of time. He says he can probably bring him up to like high lieutenant level, but that's not enough to beat someone like Byakuya, who is a high-ranking captain. Even like he's a really strong captain in terms of captains in general. So he has another idea to train Ichigo. So he would talk to Ishin first, and Ishin would basically be like wonder what Urahara was talking about. And kind of conversation goes more like, Ishin, what do you think of me training Ichigo in the Dangai until he wants to go get Rukia? We have 12 days. We have like a week and a half, or a week and 3/4, I guess, or a week and 5/7. And Ishin kind of stunned because he's like that is nearly 50. That's nearly 50 years, if not more, in our time. Like not our time. That's more like 50 years physically in the Dangai. But Urahara was prepared for this response and just said, "Actually, well, yes, it is, but Ichigo will be training in his Shinigami form, not his human form, so he would not age a day. Technically, he's younger than he's about the same age as Setsugaya, if not younger, in terms of a Shinigami form." So he would not age a day. And Ishin's like, well, you have a point there, but will you really leave his human body defenseless in this realm? And, well, Urahara kind of says, he's kind of prepared for that. He says once Ichigo's done training, he's gonna have Yoruichi and Tessai train him. Well, Yoruichi, Tessai, Ururu, and Jinta train him. Train Kon in Ichigo's human body until they leave, and then Urahara will train Kon. Kind of giving Kon permission to beat the Shadow Hollows until they die or retreat. And Ishin's like, chaotic. I kind of respect it. So, yeah. But Ishin is basically told that Urahara just says, you have to tell Ichigo about his history and convince him to share his reishi with you, so that you can help me hold open the Dangai for him. So Ishin's okay with that, and as they make their way to to Ichigo, who's recovering in Urahara's shop, Urahara has like kind of mentions what should we do to keep him sane? Because there's no way he's gonna be there for 50 years swinging a sword around and not go crazy. And Ishin simply says, tell him about meditation, but also spit things at him. Give him our general knowledge. I'll help you. We'll talk to him throughout the entire thing, and as we talk, we'll make sure he keeps his mindset strong, but also he gets smarter. They're not going to give him Ichigo, the way to create a hollow glove goes like so and so. No, they're like, Ichigo, did you know this about the Seirei? Did you know this about the Land of Living? Did you know this about this? Just to make sure he knows about a lot of random stuff and keeps his mind going. So yeah. Now, they get to Ichigo, who recovered and is hanging out with Orihime, Chad, and Uryu. Now with this, they break down the Dangai, and before they mention at the time, well, Ichigo's like, can my friends try to train me in there? And, well, Urahara says, not really, no. By the way, Ishin isn't in the room right now, just kind of Urahara. Ishin's waiting outside. But Urahara's like, not really, no. Time flows a lot faster in there. The point where only your Shinigami body can go in there. Kon will have to stay out here with you for the entire 10 days. We're going to be in there. In the meantime, your friends are going to train with Urahara, not Urahara, with Tessai, Yoruichi, Jinta, and Ururu. And immediately, Ichigo's like, is that going to be enough? And, well, Uryu says, if his dad agrees, his dad may pitch in, because his dad seems to be on okay terms with Ishin. And they don't know about Ishin's, Shinigami ability, but he's like, your dad may know something, because my dad's a Quincy, and he seems to be okay with yours. So either your dad might be a Quincy, or your dad has some relation to spirits. But he says if my dad's willing to help, I'm not sure if he will, but he might give us a few tips to fight Shinigami. And his dad does give him a few tips, but that's about it. Then he leaves. No, you don't know, you can train them. All right. But it kind of more or less goes with like Ichigo. So he's like, I'm going to leave tone in my body for 10 days. Urahara just nods, and Ichigo kind of find that annoying, but still. But he would just be taught about he would talk to Ishin now and give Ishin enough reishi to not bring him back to his prime, but make him strong. So yeah. And due to Tessai not really using like his reishi too much, he does also give Ishin a bit of reishi, and that does bring him back to his prime. So kind of takes a little bit. Ichigo can do it by himself, but they're not gonna make him do that by himself because, simply put, he has a lot of reishi, just not control over it. So it'd be actually very, very stressful for Ichigo to do it. And same for Urahara. He can do it himself. He just shouldn't because he needs to help open the Dangai. So they'll contribute a little bit of reishi each to push Ishin, and it works. So yeah. So with this, Ichigo, Kisuke, and Ishin head in the Dangai and train for an equivalent of 54 years. And while Ichigo's in there, he's taught about his Quincy heritage, his possible hollow abilities, but also his dominant Shinigami genes. So yeah. And it kind of goes on for about, I think it'd be, in the Dangai, it'd be more like 10 days would be 480,000 hours, because it's time accelerated up. So, yeah. The 10 days, instead of being the usual, like 180 something hours, I think it's 100 something hours, it's more or less just kind of multiplied by like 10, 20 times over. So, yeah. So, 480,000 hours for Ichigo's training. So yeah. Now Kon / Ichigo's flesh and blood body is horse trained with Yoruichi and Tessai. And Tessai's teaching him the basics of like Hakuda, giving Kon a pretty good understanding of what Hakuda is. So yeah. Also Chad is giving Kon some like weightlifting advice. So yeah. But yeah, the 10 days are up, and Ichigo, when he leaves the Dangai, his hair is basically just covering the entire floor. But Ishin would quickly just cut it by himself, as Ishin's hair himself is also very long. But they basically give Ichigo the haircut you see right here. And, well, simply put, Ichigo more or less just thinks that, well, everyone kind of likes it. I like it, but yeah. It basically just goes on with Ichigo saying, and he's going to keep it and see if Rukia likes it. If she does, then he'll have a definitive vote that he should keep the haircut. So yeah. Also, Ichigo kind of maxed out his relationship with Zangetsu, Hollow and normal Zangetsu. He just does not need to use their powers at all. Like, his base Zanpakuto should be enough for literally every captain aside from maybe Yamamoto. Ichigo's brought up to about, like, I would say he can handle, like, the Yuha that we see in the first invasion, but the spoiler for the manga. It'd be a lot, like, he'd lose his Soul King absorbed Yuha, but he'd be stronger than pre-absorbed, but he's kind of in between the middle of that. So, yeah. Now, yeah. Well, yeah, so when they leave, Ishin would cut Ichigo's hair and all that, and yeah. Everyone also had gotten a tad bit stronger, actually, because, well, let's phrase this. Chad is more combat-based than anything else, and, well, hand-to-hand combat-based, and Yoruichi focusing on him a lot more than canon, because Urahara kind of ordered it. Chad is, like, a lot stronger than before. Like, he'd still lose to Shunsui and all that, but still, Chad's a decent bit stronger to the point where he's not like lieutenant level, but he'd give Ikkaku a good run for his money. That's how strong he is now. He'd give Ikkaku a good fight. At least. But I'm talking about pre-Bankai Ikkaku. So, yeah. Probably not Shikai Ikkaku, but I'd give it, like, Yumachika would also have, like, a good run for his money against Chad. So, But, yeah. Now, before they leave, Ishin says, like, you should head to Kukaku Shiba, who I think is on the outskirts of the Soul Society right now. So, loud-ass airplane. Damn. But yeah. So Ishin and Yoruichi decided to head to Kukaku, and, well, when Ishigo's group does get there, they're given reishi suppressing cloaks. Urahara already mentioned that if it was any regular Shinigami, well, they would kind of let Ichigo go without a cloak because his reishi is so vast, no one can sense it. But someone like Captain Yamamoto or the Zero Division sensing it would be a very, or Royal Guard sensing it would be a very big issue. But to avoid Ichigo getting in trouble, they do make him wear like a reishi concealing cloak, and it works. So yeah. And Yoruichi's wearing one as well to keep her reishi unrecognizable. So yeah. Now, when eventually Chad and Orihime and them are learning to control their reishi in an orb, Ichigo already learned this a while ago. He learned it in the Dangai. When it comes to them in the air, Ichigo actually pause it in the air with just his reishi and simply tell them they should split up. He mentions that with Chad, Orihime, and everyone else, besides him and Yoruichi wearing reishi cloaks, they'd be good diversions so that him and Yoruichi can find Ruki a lot faster without anyone being on their tail. Everyone else would be the ones in trouble. Chad is actually okay with this, and for Uryu and Orihime, Ganju's the only one who objects. But immediately Ichigo tells him he's being a coward. Yoruichi backs him up on this, and immediately Ichigo just crushed the orb, controlling the reishi. But they'll get shot across this whole society. But Ichigo kind of threw Ganju right where he thought Ruki would be, which would keep Ganju. Well, Ganju would get arrested pretty quickly, or he should be, but he ran away on a boar. But still, due to Ganju running away, this did kind of amp security up around Rukia's prison area, but also due to Ichigo's lack of reishi, actually would be pretty easy to sneak by. 1, he's fast. 2, he's just very fast. It does not matter. No one is going to send him besides Yamamoto, and Yamamoto would focus more on, like, Uryu than Ganju of all people. So, yeah. Oh yeah, what else? So Ichigo leveled in front of Ikaku, and him and Ikaku saw a small fight. But a few of the older Shinigami recognized Ichigo's cloak as something that Uruhara had been developing before he was banished. They think this guy is here on Uruhara's behalf, thinking that he's here to get some of Uruhara's things, but still he's a banished Shinigami, so they attack. But when Ikaku would attack Ichigo, he sent flying into his men, as he says, "Damn, that bastard hits hard," as he gets up wobbling, but falls back down, right in his ass. When he sees Ichigo holding one hand out, and he then thought back to when he was hit, then remembered, Ichigo said something. Ichigo said, "Oni Deppokin." And then, Ikaku kind of turned red with, like, fury, but also embarrassment, saying, "That bastard didn't punch me, he flicked me." He would rush at Ichigo using a Shikai, but Ichigo just looked at him before punching his Zanpakuto or Shikai in half, and uppercutting him through a few dozen buildings. So, yeah. Then Ichigo kind of just used his reishi to just incapacitate the rest of the 11th Division and walk away. So, yeah. So, when it comes to other fights, like with Uryu and Orihime versus Mayuri and Nemu, that fight's honestly pretty much just the same. Same for Chad and Shunsui. The most Chad is like, if you think it's gonna be easy to catch the rest of the intruders, we have one who's stronger than any captain. Because Chad actually has a lot more confidence in Ichigo because Chad is a lot more, I would say, interested in Ichigo's power because Ichigo learned a lot more Hakuda, so him and Chad have kind of bonded over hand-to-hand combat for a while. Plus, Chad kind of just realized that Ichigo's going to do anything to protect them, including sacrifice his own age, so Chad has a lot more respect for Ichigo. Just a lot of it. So, yeah. But yeah, time passes, and Ichigo would eventually meet Renji and all that. And when Renji just kind of feels how strong Ichigo is, like, Ichigo is keeping his cloak on, but he does let out a bit of his reishi, allowing Renji to feel that he's on Renji's level at a bare minimum. Renji's like, this is going to be hard to fight. So would he activate like Roars of Imaru, and swing his Zanpakuto at Ichigo. Ichigo's vanished, slamming Renji's head into the ground, full force, and throwing him into a wall. And Ichigo would tell him he would cut Renji, but that in the fight too quickly. He'd cut him in half. Even if he's holding back, Renji would be in two. So he's just going to do this. As he just chops Renji's Zanpakuto, shattering it, and kind of breaking all of Renji's ribs. So, yeah. Now, Ichigo was staying in the sewers for a few days because, well, he had learned that, not for a few days, but for a day, because he had learned that Rukia's execution had been postponed because of Ganju and a few other escapades happening. So Ichigo would stay in the sewer for about a day, just honestly taking a nap, or sleeping, basically. But he would meet Hinataro. Him and Hinataro could pretty much bond, and Hinataro just realized that Ichigo's a pretty good guy, so he's not really as nervous, because Ichigo put him at ease. Ichigo basically lowered his reishi to Hinataro's level, so Hinataro was like, oh, he's as strong as me. I guess it won't be too scary. We're going to put Hanataro at ease. So, yeah. When Ichigo would emerge, he's met by Kenpachi and Yachiru, and Kenpachi kind of just looks at Ichigo. And he says, look is hiding your reishi. I'm pretty sure you're the guy that effortlessly kicked the shit out of my third seat, mentioning Ikaku. And then he just says, take the cloak off. I want to fight someone who's willing to show me their face. Ichigo would tear the cloak off, showing off his destroyed Shinigami uniform, but also his giant ass Zanpakuto. Immediately, Ichigo would let out all of his reishi, and immediately everyone who's not Yamamoto felt nauseous at Ichigo's power. Even up in the royal guard, we end up seeing like Korinji just kind of throw up a little bit, saying, "Ugh, how much reishi does that guy have? That's insane." And Ichibei just replies, "Too much reishi. He's a transcended being." And transcended being is basically Aizen before he lost to Ichigo, like Hogaku Aizen, post Hogaku Aizen as well. Final Getsuga Tencho Ichigo, then Horn of Salvation Ichigo, and anything after that, but also the Soul King and Yuha. Those are all transcended beings. So Ichigo, Aizen, Yuha, and Soul King. Ichigo achieved transcended being before any of that. He attained transcended being before Aizen did, which is saying something now. Because Aizen didn't think that Ichigo would go into the Dangai. This Aizen has the same plans as Kanon. He did not plan Ichigo going to the Dangai for 10 days or 54 years. So, yeah. But yeah, Kenpachi would basically see Ichigo's full power and immediately just have a thought. Shit. And immediately he realizes he has to go all out or he'll die. He immediately took off the bells, took off his eye patch, and just roared at Ichigo, kind of like a wild animal. With Ichigo and Kenpachi being fighting, Kenpachi going to his full power within seconds, and as we know, Kenpachi was kind of mentally suppressed the entire time he's been a captain, until he had to fight Unohana to the death. So with this, Kenpachi's already at that level, like he's already just at the level he is when he fought Unohana, but Ichigo's simply just dodging or smacking him away. After about 5 minutes, Unohana would arrive on the scene, knowing how Kenpachi was going rampant. But Ichigo was holding Kenpachi up by the neck, kind of like how Yuha was, and that he wasn't even scathed. You know, it wasn't Yuha; it was like Lloyd. So yeah, it was one of the Stern Ritter basically. But Ichigo was holding up Kenpachi, then threw him to the side. He looked at Unohana, telling her he does not have time for this. If he wants to fight him, do it. She would activate her Bankai immediately, and Ichigo kind of points out that she's as about as bloodthirsty as Kenpachi, if not more. Which kind of makes him have a Todoroki moment, saying, "What are you, his mom or something?" And she says, "Oh, no, I'd be too sad if I was his mother. Because consider me his sensei." And she would rush at Ichigo at top, so he's activating her Bankai. But as soon as she activated her Bankai, she realizes there's a fist through her chest, and he just says, he just says this, he knows it won't kill her, but her Bankai is too scary to face without him going all out in time. He ended up pulling his fist out of her chest, but Isane from behind would heal her, and Unohana would finish the job of healing herself. With that, her and Ichigo began fighting, and Ichigo would actually activate his Shikai. His Shikai being a bit different because he basically has a relationship with his Zanpakuto to the point where if it breaks, he can repair it just by meditating. The Zanpakuto can be remade pretty quickly, so his relationship is a lot different. So, he actually has a proper Shikai, which is Tsuki ni Toroku Mare Kiri Sake Zangetsu, or slash them until you reach the moon Zangetsu. So with this new Shikai, basically, his Shikai does look the same. It's just that, simply put, each time him and an enemy's blades collide, or his blade collides with the enemy's body, it gets sharper until it gets cut down. So yeah. With this, Unohana and Ichigo began clashing. Unohana began basically attacking Ichigo's blade, hoping to break it, because she knows it won't affect his body. Well, she doesn't realize that each time him and her blades clash, he basically just gets stronger. And he said this right before he beat her. And she's like, your blade isn't breaking, it's strong. And he says, yeah, my blade gets stronger the more times I clash with someone. Her eyes kind of just widened as soon as Ichigo just cut her down immediately, giving her a very similar scar to Kenpachi, who's kind of on the opposite eye. So, yeah. Also, the scar kind of went down from her eyebrow down all the way to her waist. So, yeah. But yeah, so Kenpachi's kind of realized he was holding himself back, and even Unohana had lost that monster. But he gets up, kind of keeping his full power, like his hair's flowing and everything. But now he realized that he kind of heard a small voice, but he's not paying attention to it right now. He's pretty much just worried about Unohana dying. He's like, Isana, a healer. Isana's like, I'm trying. You should go get yourself to the 4th Division. Yeah, he actually picked up Kenpachi and ran with him, saying that she'll do it. Kenpachi should just stay calm and fall asleep, which he does. But yeah, well, more time passes, and now we go on to Kenpachi and Unohana versus, or this is actually Unohana. It's usually Kenpachi versus Tozen Komamura. This time it's Kenpachi and Unohana versus Tozen Komamura. Unohana had been healed, but she does have like bandages on most of her body, besides like one eye. So yeah, his bandages, the fact that she doesn't want anyone to see her wound just yet. And Kenpachi just has a few bandages on his body from his bones being basically dust for a few hours. So just keep the soreness down, bandages that kind of subdue pain. But yeah. Now, Kenpachi would fight Tozen, and when Tozen would tap into his Bankai, he actually attacks some, like, mainly Kenpachi's obvious wounds, which just make him lose his Zanpakuto. Like, he drops it and can't find it. But he's trying to nearly dodge a lot of Tozen's strikes. He would hear a voice that's a lot louder, but in his head. It's kind of more or less his connection with his Zanpakuto. And the blade would just say, Kenny, you can't die here before you learn your true full power. Throw this man to the side and show everyone what strength looks like. Kenpachi can help but smile at this before he actually grabs Tozen's blade and throws Tozen basically across the Seireitei. Or, not, well, it's kind of figuratively. But Tozen's able to catch himself, but Kenpachi already grabbed his Zanpakuto and just kind of roared, saying, Bug off, you blind bastard. Or basically cutting Tozen across the chest and actually sending him flying across the Seireitei this time. It was more or less a shockwave from it, but he still sent Tozen flying. Kenpachi looks at Unohana, who just smiled at him in approval, and she's just kind of just sitting on Komamura's unconscious body. And she says he's lucky that she didn't kill him, because she likes dogs. Now, 3 days pass. Ichigo kind of went around Soul Society, doing things that nobody could sense, kind of more or less raiding every single building just to find what he needed. And a lot of it was just technology or just information with everyone. So, yeah. But eventually Ichigo does free his friends before Ruki's execution begins, and when he would arrive like in canon, he doesn't arrive wearing like a Rishikin cloak anymore, he arrives just as Ichigo. But his friends are with him, and they'd kind of beaten like basically every single lieutenant. And Ichigo would go on to basically just kick Ruki's platform away, saving her. Now with this, Byakuya would arrive to fight Ichigo, but Ichigo would activate his Shikai again, and basically blocking all Byakuya's strikes until the captains would arrive. When the captains arrive and the other lieutenants get up, well, this kind of leads to the Ichigo side versus the Soul Society side. Basically, Renji, the 4th Division, the 8th Division, the 11th Division, and 13th Division are all on Ichigo's side. But also, surprises a visit from Isshin and Urahara would arrive. Ichigo would open kind of a portal for them, and they went in. But besides the divisions I just named, and Isshin and Urahara, we'd have everyone else in the Soul Society against this group. So yeah. Now, Yamamoto would try to speak against like Isshin and Urahara, but immediately Rangiku and Tosho would jump up, yelling like, oh, Captain Shiba, how? Why? What the hell are you doing here? Isshin just smiled, saying that he's a dad. He didn't mean for it to happen, but he is. And Ichigo is his oldest son, so he's going to back him up. This is kind of surprised by Yamamoto and Mayuri, and Yamamoto is the first one to speak, saying, do you have a chat with like a regular person? But Mayuri, the one who thought ahead the most, would say, you old man, have you gone senile? Humans can't see us, and Isshin is too kind to grape someone. He did it with a filthy Quincy. But before he even said the word Quincy, he's punched in the face by Isshin, and everyone can basically just hear Mayuri's jaw turn to dust. And Isshin just looks at Mayuri, who was unconscious, with his face in pieces, basically, and just said, don't talk about my wife like that. He then decided to use Mayuri as basically a whip against everyone, as he decided again fighting and clashing. Yamamoto just yelling Ryu's and Shaka, and Ichigo would just launch a Getsuga Tensho against Yamamoto. So yeah. As they fight, Unohana and Chojuro had heard a few words from Yamamoto that they couldn't believe, but also, at the same time, they had no other choice but to believe it. The words from Yamamoto towards Ichigo, or under his breath about Ichigo. This boy is as strong as Yuha. That kind of stunned Unohana and Chojuro, but they could believe it. Only person who's been able to fight on par with Yamamoto was, well, Yuha. This kid seems to be holding back and still holding his own against Yamamoto. Well, Yamamoto's holding back as well, but still, even if Yamamoto's holding back, he didn't beat everyone here in mid-diff. There's someone holding their own against Yamamoto seemingly on even terms seems impossible, basically. But it's not. As Ichigo and Yamamoto fight, in the middle of their fight, everyone is put under hypnosis of Toka Suigetsu. I just hope this is enough to kill Ichigo and Yamamoto, but it's not. Their skin is simply just too durable to be killed from this attack. In fact, Ichigo could use his own reishi to break out of it. Same for Yamamoto. Well, Yamamoto kind of burned through it. Ichigo simply just broke it by using just raw strength. In fact, Ichigo kind of did sacrifice a bit of his reishi for raw power, and it worked. So, yeah. He sacrificed certain aspects for certain other aspects, like he sacrificed a decent amount of his reishi for physical strength, but then he earned back that reishi, keeping that physical strength. He sacrificed physical strength for a lot of reishi, he earned that strength back relatively quickly. Kind of kept sacrificing things and earning them back in the 54 years, giving him... It's kind of what pushed him to be above Yuha, so, yeah. This Ichigo's so strong to the point where his Getsuga Tensho at full power might rival a final Getsuga Tensho. So yeah, he doesn't know, but he knows he has the final Getsuga Tensho if he needs it. So yeah. But yeah, so Aizen realizing he couldn't kill Ichigo or Yuha would just jump away, Tozen and Gin on his side, and they announce their official betrayal. Which surprises no one considering what they tried to do to Ichigo and Yuha. Not Yuha, Yamamoto. But Ichigo simply told Yamamoto that they have a new enemy now. And he told Aizen he better watch his back. And Aizen's a bit threatened by this, so he does leave with Gin and Tozen. So, yeah. Now with this, they did still hear Aizen's plan about becoming the new Soul King, or killing him at least. And, yeah. But Ichigo decides to stay in the Seirete for now, and actually give Rukia a bit of reishi back, giving her about enough reishi to be considered a captain-level opponent. And Byakuya actually didn't notice this, as Ichigo can give out basically as much reishi as he needs. He has nearly infinite reishi. So, when Rukia gets as much reishi, Byakuya starts to train her to become a captain. Same for Renji, because Renji already planning on learning Bankai, but he actually give Rukia and Renji tips on how to become a little Bankai user. And he tells them, meditate with your Zanbakuto, get to know them. And he did mention that his Zanbakuto is an old man who's too wise for his own good, so this was kind of insufferable, but bear with it. Which is a very, very big tip for Renji. So, yeah. And, well, eventually with this, it goes on to Ichigo being granted sanctuary in the Seirete. And Ichigo would decide to actually train with Genpachi and Unohana, because they get along pretty well. Through combat, that is. Chad got along well with Shunsui, so he trained with Shunsui. And Unohana kind of found a liking to Orihime, and same for Isane, so they got along pretty well. Now, as time passed, eventually Ichigo would come down and bring Ichigo up to the Seirete, to the Royal Guard or Royal Palace. Mainly because a man who wanted to kill the Soul King had just left, someone as strong as the Soul King possibly just arrived. So, just clear your own name, tell us all about you. And that happens. And with that, Ichigo is like, okay, well, in case the Soul King does die, we're going to need you to replace him. That's how to replace him. Ichigo simply said, yeah, no, if you try to even touch me, I will cut you in half. Don't you dare. And Ichigo's like, so you're willing to let all the realms die because you don't want to be the Soul King? And Ichigo's like, immediately just, yes. I refuse to be dismembered. I refuse it. Ichigo does realize that Ichigo's kind of just a now no candidate for becoming the Soul King. But still, Ichigo has to try later on. So yeah. Now, Orohara did have his name cleared and all that, because they kind of talk about the Vizards and Aizen's experiments and all that. And Orohara was granted access back to his lab. But due to how revolutionary he is, and there's really no position for him back in the Gotei, Ichigo actually agrees to let him up there on his own accord, but more or less as an assistant scientist working under Senjumaru. Senjumaru more or less makes the Shinigami garbs, but he's more or less just here as like an assistant inventor, with Yoruichi being his assistant. So an assistant's assistant. But he more or less acts like a bodyguard than an assistant. But yeah. Ichin is granted basically allowed to live in the 12th Division barracks. He just or 10th Division actually. Yeah. So he lives there, but then brings Karin and Yuzu with him. Karin and Yuzu basically being able to awaken their powers fully in this dimension. Yuzu probably being more Quincy than Shinigami, but she can still basically just learn a bit of basics of like Hakuda and Kido. So yeah. Same for Karin. Her and Tosho are pretty good friends. So yeah. What else? Oh yeah, Ichigo's made an honorary member of the Gote 13. Not Gote 13. Of the Royal Guard, considering how strong he is. And plus, he's a candidate for the Soul King. So, he's granted a garb that, granted like basically just a Howry or something that just says honorary guard on the back. They gave him about as much weight as a captain. So, yeah. But now it goes on to, Ichigo, he prefers to stay in the land of living, and he does say that he'll run his dad's hospital. And because of this, Ichigo actually taught the basics of Kido, and he does use healing Kido the most. So he's kind of takes over his dad's clinic. Ryuken actually owns it now, but still. And Ichigo, in case he can't really run the clinic enough, he does do some odd jobs for a lady named Ikumi. And Chad kind of but he works in a small gym that does teach boxing. So Chad does his own thing there. So yeah. Now, Uryu. He supposedly lost power since Mayuri, but Ichigo's mere presence did make him and his friends a lot stronger, so Uryu had a small amount of reishi in his body that was pretty powerful. So yeah. Then Ichigo, in his spare time, did teach Keigo, Tatsuki, and Mizuhiro to fight against Hollows. So yeah. And in the meantime, Shinji did introduce himself to Ichigo, and convinced him to try to be a visor in training, but Ichigo simply just said, well, I already have the pull of the captain, plus my mask is pretty easy to control. Me and Zangetsu are pretty good friends. As he does pull on his mask, and be in pretty easy control of it. They did shock Shinji, but Ichigo would actually fight Shinji to show him why he's so high-ranking in Seireichi, and Shinji understands it now. So yeah, but Ichigo does have an idea, and that idea is making the visors punching bags for him and his friends. So yeah. When it comes to Ichigo, and then he basically makes them go all out and fight him, and he just slams them, but it's still pretty good training. Especially if Shinji were to use his Shikai. His Bankai wouldn't really work in a fight against his friends. So, yeah. Now, when Yami and Okiura find the Karakura squad, Chad and Orihime were both there, and as a duo, they're pretty easily Yami level. So, they fight. Well, basically, the reason is due to constant Ichigo exposure and 12 hours visor training pretty constantly. Yami doesn't stand a chance against these sorts of duo. Like, they can push him back pretty easily. And Chad basically awakened his full power already, so he pretty easily pushed Yami back. Then Orihime just made it worse by cutting off one of his arms. Chad just beat him while he tried to try to get his arm back. But, yeah. When Okiura's about to intervene, Ichigo would arrive, not even in, like, he's not even in Shinigami attire, he's literally just in his base form, and punched Okiura across Karakura town. Ichigo then reappeared in front of Okiura, but now his shoes are kind of just gone into the lower half of his pants. He moved that fast. But he told Okiura just scram, and Okiura did as told, with Yami in tow. And Aizen was now concerned because, well, his fourth highest ranking Espada kind of just got bitched out by a human. Not a Shinigami in training, or not substitute Shinigami. A human who had to throw away his shoes on his way to bitch out the Arankar, basically, or the not Visards, the Espada. So Aizen's like, all right, my plans went astray. I did not expect that. Urahara kind of ruined everything, and this kid's making it worse. So now Aizen is kind of rethinking his entire life about Ichigo now. So for the first time, not for the first time, but for the first time in a long time, Aizen wants to train very hard. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this part. Like and subscribe for more. Adios.